It is the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, and let's have a look at what's been going on in Northern Areas football. Big weekend for Northern Areas, Northeastern, York Peninsula and Adelaide Plains. The Nutrient Ag Solutions Cup played at Port Broughton over the weekend. Northern Areas doing the hosting there, and the great Graham Spud McKay went down to check out the action. He joins me on the line. G'day, mate. How you going?
G'day, Jace. Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks. Yeah, what an excellent day of footy it was, and really do like the concept of that. The under-17s playing first, and they wrap that up just before the A grade commences, so that if some of them want to, they can go home. But the big plus about the under-17s being there is that a lot of them need parents or somebody to drive them. They haven't got their licence at the present time, and so therefore that enhances your crowd. It puts takings through your canteen and all the rest of it when they buy their lunch and that, and then you'll see most of them seem to hang around. That there was still a good crowd for the A grade, but they are able to go because we used to leave the presentations until after the A grade game, and that was hard then because if somebody needed to go and some of them are travelling big distances, that then makes it very hard that they weren't there for the presentation. So This format works really well.
Yeah, it does. And let's have a look to start with at those under-17s. Kicking the dew off the ground at 9:45 a.m. at Port Broughton was the host, Northern Areas, taking on the might of York Peninsula, who have won this at this level many times in its incarnation. I think there's been 13 of these, and they've almost got into double figures already, York Peninsula.
Yes, they have been very, very dominant in this form of the game, and they put up a really tight game against Northern Areas in the first one. The Northern Areas seemed to be in a little bit of trouble at half time, but they listened to the coach at the half-time break there and came out and were able to do what he wanted, and they just got over the line by a couple of points, but that was a big win for them. Unfortunately, they weren't quite so good in the grand final where Adelaide Plains dominated that one, and but look, congratulations to all the boys that made that Northern Area side. They all wanted to be there, and it's a great learning experience to go out and play association footy.
Absolutely it is. They played country carnival style, two halves, I believe. Is that right, Spud?
Yep, that's right. Two 20-minute halves with time on. Sorry, it might be 18 minutes with time on for under-17.
Right.
It's modelled on the format that they use at the country champs, and I just think that for your senior team that's a very good grounding for them. You do pick a bit of a different type of player. It's the player that's got the stamina and can last all day is probably not the one that you're going to take over to these games, because you want the impact player, the player that's out the blocks, and if you can hit the scoreboard in that first half and get a bit of a lead, it's very hard to peg it back then. So that's where you do find that there's a bit of a different personnel selected for these games.
Absolutely. It makes total sense. You want the burst players that can win you a game in 5 minutes of footy. So that grand final score in the under-17s, Adelaide Plains 5-2-32, Northern Areas 2-2-14. They were 3-goal down at quarter time, so it was an even second half in that one. That was a midday start. So the A grade got underway at about 1 o'clock, I believe, and it was again the hosts doing battle against York Peninsula, but this one didn't go quite as well, Spud.
No, the York Peninsula played very well, and they dominated the game. Northern Areas they seemed to lack a little bit of cohesion there. They battled hard, but just not quite good enough. That put them out of the running of being able to play off for the championship. But they certainly were much better in the second game when they came up against Adelaide Plains, and that one, they were able to sort of get their teamwork going, and I think Nick Pearce started most of it from with the ruck in the centre there, and then Lucas Kanga, he was very good. Alex Kanga, sorry, I got the wrong one, they were good, and I just again I think all the players that were selected, they wanted to be there and they gave their best effort, and that's all you can ask for. And again, a great learning experience for those younger players.
Fantastic win, really, in the end. 2-5-17, 2-1-13 at half-time. So Adelaide Plains left the door open and Northern Areas kicked it down in the second half. 3-3 to 1-2 in the second half for Adelaide Plains. Good kicking is good footy. Bad kicking is bad footy. And this is a team, Adelaide Plains, which is stacked very good players. I mean, you're talking about the likes of Shane Moss, Caleb Edmead, Jason McFarlane, Nicholas Lehman, good names. Ethan Katersky is experienced at Carnival Footy, spent many a year for Eastern Rangers in the Mortlock Shield. Toby Morn, Bo Shinnick was the player of the tournament for Adelaide Plains. This is a very good side that your boys were able to beat.
Yeah, I was standing by somebody there, and there was a Samuel Dunn plays for them. He's a ruckman, and they said, "Boy, look at this fella!" Like in years gone by, the ruckmen were only about 6'2", something like that. Nowadays, there's that bigger breed of ruckman comes, so that usually gives you a bit of an advantage if you can get your hand to the ball first up in the centre there, and that's they were good. But I probably should say that Northeastern won the championship, but it was a top grand final against York Peninsula, and it was anybody's game, and Northeastern probably were a little bit better. When they moved the ball forward, they seemed to have a little bit more cohesion, whereas York Peninsula seemed to struggle to find their way. They get it forward, but not with any cohesion. So well done to Northeastern on winning the championship.
4-6 to 3-7 in the final, Northeastern. Now, from this point on, Spud, the four teams that take part in the Nutrient Ag Solutions Cup, is it right that you guys join in with Barossa Light and Gawler, and then the zone team is picked out of that for the country champs?
No, it used to be,
yeah,
and then
it's changed. Yeah.
We go up with Spencer Golf and Whyalla,
right,
and far north there, Roxby, that area there.
Right.
It was much better when we were sort of part of that central zone, because it really gave you a good idea. But it's still a good learning process for them, and we were able to sort of see which players can go on and perform at the country champs for us. Now, I probably just should mention that Kane Bowley from Broughton Mundura was one of the best player for the A-grade Northern Areas over there, and Leo Coates from Crystal Brook was the best under 21, and Rory Curley from Broughton Mundura again, he was the best under 17. So well done to those three blokes.
Absolutely, mate. Well done, and well done to the organisers, the crew at Broughton Mundura putting on the day. Another successful Nutrient Ag Solutions Cup. I'm a bit of a fan of association footy, Spud. I love it, to be quite honest, and I know you're a bit of a fan of it yourself. Yeah. Yep.
No, definitely, because for most of the country footballers nowadays, that's the highest level you're going to get to. If you show a bit of form in the under 14s, under 17s, you're picked up by say North Adelaide in Northern Areas case, and for Northeastern it becomes Woodville West Torrens. But they find themselves down there. So this is probably the highest level most players are going to get to. And then, of course, you aim just to get to the zone if you can. But, really enjoyed these association games, and it was well done by Broughton Mundura and Northern Areas for getting that day and making it such a success.
Stuff, mate. Right, let's move back to club matches this weekend, round 8 of 16. So this is the halfway point of the season, Spud. Can you believe it?
No, well, it seems to be flying through, and as I said, it's the last time we talked about home and away. It starts to heat up from here, because anybody can make the four at this stage. Obviously, the two standouts are Broughton Mundura and Southern Flinders, but the rest of them, well, there's not much separates them, and it'll be just a matter of whether they can get the wins on the board and maybe improve percentage in some clubs' form.
Yep. Well, let's do a quick ladder refresher in the A grade. Broughton Mundura on top on percentage, 6 wins and 1 loss. Southern Flinders, 6 wins and 1 loss. And then we get the log jam. So Orroroo have emerged. They're in third spot now, the reigning champs, 3 wins, 4 losses. And then we got 3 teams all locked together on 2 wins with only percentage separating them. That's Crystal Brook, BMW, and Jamestown Peterborough. So not a lot of percentage in it really, but there's a bit of a gap down to your boys who have got some work to do either percentage-wise or realistically you probably have to win one extra game than the others above you.
Yeah, certainly will be. That'll be the case. So, and I guess this week's round is probably not going to help too much, because those 3 sides are all playing the top side, so to speak. So,
well, let's have a look at it, because you're exactly right there, mate. So we'll start with your boys, and that is Jamestown Peterborough, who will be off to Orroroo. It's a tall order at the best of times, but they found some form in the last month, Orroroo, and they're looking a little bit more like the reigning premiers.
Yes, they're starting to put it together, and I sort of keep on saying that they're usually slow to begin with up there, but they gradually build, and now you'll see that they'll start to get some players back, and players that have been on the sick list, etc., will gradually find their way back. And it sometimes when they've been off with the illness there, that it does take them a couple of weeks, because it does take the stamina away from them. And it just takes a little while for them to get back to full form. But I'm sure Orroroo, you would not pick against Orroroo. I know Jamestown Peterborough beat them down at Jamestown the first time they played. This will be a different side up there on Saturday, and played at Orroroo. You'd be, if Jamestown Peterborough pull this off, that'll be a huge upset, I would have thought.
And much needed one for them as well. It's a big game, actually, Jamestown Peterborough, really, in terms of finals aspirations. But hopefully they'll get a couple of players back. I know you're missing a big key forward at the moment, which is a problem.
Yeah, Henry Moore, I think, is still out. But that's the real problem. When he was there, it gave them some height down there. They could straighten them up. They went down the corridor, and when you haven't got a key forward there, you start going wide, and then you get pinged off on the flanks there, and the ball comes flying out at 100 mile an hour, and the on-ballers get a little bit disillusioned when it keeps coming out all the time. So let's hope that they can come up with something up forward that will work.
All right. Other matches, let's look at Crystal Brook doing the hosting, Southern Flinders. Now, the Chooks at home, not without a chance here, but look, you'd have to say Southern Flinders, they haven't really done too much wrong so far this year. You'd have to start them as favourites.
Yeah, well, Nick Pearce coaches them, and he's got them going pretty well. They've got a pretty good forward line now. They're able to sort of kick goals, which is one of their problems a couple of years ago. They get the ball down there, a bit like Jamestown Peterborough at the moment, where it goes down. But now with Joel Amber, Pedersen up there, Shane Valentine, Tom Crawford, they're all good players, and so they got several options to go through to goal, and I would think Southern Flinders will win it. But Crystal Brook did start to show a bit of form against Broughton Mundura when that last time minor round game that was played, and they weren't disgraced by Broughton Mundura, so they may be starting to just get a few players back, and it'll be a good game. Down to the Brook, Southern Flinders, I think, will just get the points.
BMW, who talk about showing some form, I mean, we're going back a fortnight now, but they were too good at Melrose for Orroroo by, 40-odd points last start, so they're in a bit of form. Well, they're going to want to be in a bit of form because they got Broughton Mundura coming back to Melrose.
Yeah, well, see, Broughton Mundura, they've had a few players out, but Tommy Button, he was captain of the association side there last Saturday. He's in good form for them now, and they'll gradually get players back. There was huge numbers missing from the last time when they got beaten by Orroroo. I think somebody said they had about 14 out of the two sides. So,
wow.
Nobody sort of counter that big a loss, and I just think that Broughton Mundura, even though it's at Melrose, I reckon they might be too strong, but I do like the way BMW is starting to put it together, and I think that they're on the right track, but it probably is. This is not the game for them to be able to sort of say, well, we need to win this one. There'll be other more important games coming up for them.
All right. Well, there you go. Round 8 of matches. We've got Southern Flinders, Orroroo, and Broughton Mundura as the faves going into this weekend's matches. And Spud, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, that's about all, Jace. And let's hope. Well, the weather's fine anyway. There hopefully could be a bit more rain coming next week there. It's if it's Saturday's fine for all the sport, that'll be good.
Yep, good growing weather, Spud. That's what we want.
Very good. Yeah.
Good on you, mate. Enjoy the footy. How's the crop going, by the way, before we wrap things up?
We're getting it under control there now, and some of the early stuff is just starting to poke through, so that's good. We've had a couple of frosts, but it hasn't been too bad at this stage. So, yeah, all looking pretty good.
Oh, he's hoping for a couple of nice mish sort of days to warm things up and help that crop just poke through. But, Spud, enjoy the footy this weekend, mate. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Jase. See ya.